This video is brought to you by WrightlySo.com, the right place for nerdy insight. Hey there everybody, welcome back! I'm assuming if you're watching this video, then you've seen the first one and know the drill. I like Bleach, Bleach has problems, I'm proposing solutions to fix those problems like the dork lord I am.
Any questions before I go on?
The first step, as I posited before, is to review all the characters to see who stays, gets cut, and gets edited because, oh boy, Bleach has a lot of characters.
Too many cooks, 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 too many.
For a quick recap,
It's about time, Ichigo!
Ichigo, keep. Orihime, keep. Uryu, keep. Chad, keep only the best parts of. Keigo and Mizuhiro, cut. Chizuru, cut. Other kids in the class, or at least their personalities and screen time, cut!
Get out of here, go commute. You gotta be ashamed of yourselves. Bunch of easily led automatons.
I feel these decisions are fairly self-explanatory, even if you haven't seen the video. If you feel they aren't self-explanatory, the video is right there, go watch it!
Sounds like now's the time.
We're going to cover Tatsuki Urasawa, Karin Kurosaki, and Yuzu Kurosaki all at once. What do Ichigo's sisters have to do with Tatsuki, whom they barely, if ever, interact with? Allow me to explain.
You picked a fight with the wrong person this time! See, we have this long-standing arrangement. Anyone who makes Orihime cry gets the snot beat out of them.
Tatsuki Urasawa, a childhood friend to Ichigo, protector of Orihime. You know, except that's only true for the first, 13 episodes out of over 300, because Orihime gets powers and Tatsuki doesn't.
Anyone who tries to hurt Tatsuki will have to answer to me!
She's tough, athletic, has a little bit of spiritual pressure sense, she's charming. I like Tatsuki.
Tatsuki, you're amazing!
You know who else has those exact same traits, but has a closer, more concrete relationship with Ichigo? Karin Kurosaki, Ichigo's little sister.
But why are Orihime and I here when we didn't have anything to do with this?
Karin and Ichigo's other sister Yuzu are, in essence, miniature versions of Tatsuki and Orihime respectively.
Not exactly. What I hit in my Just give it a rest, Chizuru!
That a girl?
You're an idiot, Dad. Oh, great. Just what I want to see. I'm so done.
Here's what the Ichigo I know would do. He'd make a mad face and tell Rukia she can always visit with friends and family later if she lives, but she won't have that chance if she's dead. I bet you've already made up your mind, haven't you? What are you waiting for, Ichigo?
Yuzu!
They're your friends, right? Then go and help them. Ichigo! Bye, Ichigo! Have a good day!
Ichigo needs a connection to his family. His mom is dead, and his dad is pretending to be a loon, but secretly has PTSD and won't explain anything truthfully to Ichigo. Having a sibling is good for Ichigo. Note the singular there, because both of them being in Bleach is redundant and makes them feel like a pair of props, as opposed to one solid character.
I still can't believe Ichigo would take off on a summer vacation and leave the rest of us behind.
Props you get kidnapped,
Ichigo! Get me out of here!
Yuzu!
or endangered,
Why are you hanging out at our playground then?
all
Yuzu!
the
Cutting?
time.
Cutting!
You get the idea. Placing Yuzu there would only serve to give uncomfortable comparisons to Orihime while also establishing that the human girls in Karakura Town are mostly submissive and docile.
Ichigo, you better hurry up and eat breakfast or you're gonna be late.
Karin then is the logical choice to keep. This is also the better choice since the Fullbring arc presents the idea that Karin may be becoming a soul reaper.
But around the time I lost my powers, Cutting's spirit energy started growing stronger.
Or maybe a Quincy. And they never follow up on it because the story's too crowded.
I'm in permanent denial.
We're making room for that to happen too. Tatsuki being a larger version of Karin doesn't need to keep being there. Why even give Ichigo a friend outside of Orihime if they barely talk? Ichigo never confides in her about anything. She doesn't have lore reasons to get powers to protect Orihime aside from being an extra Fullbringer like Chad, and she almost never confronts Ichigo except the one time. You know, the one time she yells at him about Orihime going missing and in a heartbreaking call-out to Ichigo, Tite Kubo, and the editors of Shonen Jump. She asks if she's even Ichigo's friend.
I want to know, what am I? Am I someone who even matters to you? Do you consider me your friend? Are you really my friend?
Jesus, that's rough. I feel bad for saying she should be edited out, but we again hit that wall for Ichigo. He can't be lonely if he has a cool friend like Tatsuki, and if he can't be lonely, a lot of the narrative crumbles. Tatsuki's too cool for Bleach.
Tatsuki, you're amazing!
You may say that Orihime could use a girlfriend to relate to and someone to be Orihime's sort of defender from a lot of the shitty stuff in her life, especially with her shit parents and her brother being dead. I'd agree. Why not, though, share that role between a few characters? You could give the role of Orihime's companion to Karin outside of school, Uryu in school, and Ichigo for extra dire situations where she may need to be physically defended beyond dudes hitting on her. It would let Orihime get closer to Uryu and give him more reason to like her, let Orihime have a clearer and longer-running relation to Ichigo, and maintain Karin's parallels with Ichigo by being a protective Kurosaki to Orihime. Tatsuki and Orihime could have their own show, really, but since this is Bleach, it's got other characters and a bigger story. I just don't think Tatsuki fits in. In short, I like Tatsuki. I don't have a lot of commentary on Yuzu because she's a boring mini Orihime.
You've been so mean!
We mark Tatsuki and Yuzu as cut,
You idiot.
and Karin as keep.
From now on, it's our turn to protect Ichigo.
With that topic, we've now moved from school people to family members. Chad's abuelo exists purely through a couple flashbacks, and he's a crucial part of Chad's backstory, so I think we can quickly say that we're not removing him.
How blessed you are.
Let's take a look at everyone else's families, just for a quick review.
Hey, what the hell is that, Dad? What's going on?
Why are you asking me? I had no idea what was going on when you came flying in, and as of this moment, I still have no idea.
We begin with Ichigo's parents, Isshin Kurosaki, née Shiba, and Masaki Kurosaki. Isshin was a captain of Soul Society who came into power in some period in the past 100 years.
Is that really Ichigo's goofy old dad?
Let's hear it for Daddy!
After Urahara and the Vizards were kicked out of Soul Society. 20 years before the story started, Isshin was out hunting hollows, fought one made by Aizen, got backstabbed by Aizen, and got saved by Masaki. Masaki then got cursed by the hollow made by Aizen, and he had to give up his Soul Reaper powers to save her, falling in love with her and subsequently marrying her. Masaki was an heiress to a prominent Quincy family, engaged to her cousin Ryukin Ishida at birth to keep the Quincy line pure. Little known fact about Masaki, she's fucking dead. Masaki was killed by the Grand Fisher Hollow 7 years before the story, and that caused Ichigo to close off emotionally and Isshin to become the crazy weird guy we know at the beginning of the tale.
You dropped your guard again!
Now, manga spoiler, she was really killed because Ichwach Yehovach decided to be a douche and steal a bunch of Quincy's powers, letting her be killed by the Grand Fisher, but that's not important right now. Aside from some of the extremely perverted, incredibly uncomfortable backstory stuff of her being a DTF high schooler for a grown-ass man Isshin, I think Masaki's pretty fine as is.
My son, I'm very proud of you.
Should probably edit out this panel though, this panel's a terrible idea. What is she, Mashiro? Jacking off in her sleep? This is really weird, Tite Kubo. It's really uncomfortable.
Fucking pervert.
Now, Isshin being a Soul Reaper begs several questions about the early part of the story. Why did he let Yuzu and Karin get attacked by hollows?
You cling to your daughters like you're a mother hen!
That's because Yuzu and Karin are special.
Ichigo! Get me out of here! Yuzu! Karin!
Why did he let Ichigo become a Soul Reaper? Considering his wife died because of a hollow, shouldn't he be more cautious about hollows attacking his family members? What's his relationship to Urahara?
Urahara.
It's been a long time since I've seen you, my friend.
Why doesn't Rukia recognize the former captain of Squad 10? Why aren't Soul Reapers more paranoid about Karakura Town, a place where a captain-level Soul Reaper was apparently killed? And they have to think he's dead, or Rukia would have some record of his banishment. It's suggested he got kicked out because he relinquished his Soul Reaper powers to help his Quincy wife purge the hollow from inside her soul, but again, if this was the case, there would likely either be a cover story of his death in the area, or a record that he's still in Karakura Town because he's a captain-level Soul Reaper. Yamamoto would have to be an idiot to let him walk around without being somewhat aware of what he was up to, and it would be extremely out of character considering how cautious the guy is.
And as of this moment, I still have no idea.
Last but not least, why isn't he at least more involved in trying to track down and kill Yehovach once Yehovach becomes active again?
Truth is, I never held a grudge against that stupid hollow in the first place. If I'm being perfectly honest with myself, there's only one thing I've really regretted over these past 20 years. And that was my lack of power.
And you can't say he doesn't know it was Yehovak who did it because he hangs out with Ryukin, and their wives died at almost the same time, and Ryukin knew it was Yehovak killing Quincy's because of the still silver, and Ryukin knew that Misaki was a Quincy, and would have no reason to hide it from Ishin unless he had more extensive plans to kill Yehovak himself, which are never mentioned. And he shows up in the last fucking 10 chapters with Ishin to kill Yehovak anyways, so it's not like he was like, hey pal, I've been lying to you for 10 years, wanna go on a road trip to kill this guy who killed our wives? That'd be fucking stupid!
You're an idiot, Dad.
These are all things we'd have to address about Ishin.
If we leave things like this, it's not good.
Because as of right now, Ishin comes off as a terrible father.
Me? What did I do?
He keeps rolling the dice on Ichigo protecting himself, Yuzu, and Karin despite several suggestions that something more is at play. He has some bullshit line about wanting to let Ichigo grow on his own.
Plus, I always trust my kids and give them as much space as possible.
But let's be real about Ishin. Yes, he was away during the first Hollow attack, and he was talking to the graveyard director or whatever during the Grand Fisher attack, but he's been aware of the situation all along, man.
I'm not as dumb as I look.
He says he can sense when Hollows are there because he sensed the Grand Fisher near Misaki, and he hasn't done jack shit since. He knows who Urahara is, he's worked with the guy, he's been made aware of the Vizards.
The Masked Army. The Vizards. They're a lawless gang of former Soul Reapers who attempted to obtain hollow powers through the use of forbidden techniques.
He knows about Aizen, who is way stronger than any other Soul Reaper aside from Yamamoto.
Sosuke Aizen must have made a deal with the would-be Arankars, using the power of the Hogyoku.
He's aware that hollows are around and attack people with spiritual pressure, or just people that can see ghosts like his kids. And he probably knows about the Quincy ethnic cleansing that helped kill his wife and Ryukin's wife before the Quincy blood arc. And he does nothing to protect his gamished half-Quincy, half-Soul Reaper kids that are like walking bait for Hollow and Quincy attacks. He has taken zero precautions to address these issues, all of which he could very easily take. He owns no soul charms, which he can easily buy off Urahara to ward off Hollows.
Need instant escape when a Hollow attacks? You're good with these electromagnetic restraining pills, Zenobolutan. Is there anything else that you need?
Nope.
And he doesn't bother to give Masaki's anti-Hollow talisman to Karin or Ichigo before any Hollows attack. He gives it to Ichigo at the end of the first fucking season when he's headed to Soul Society, which will make it effectively useless. Also a little bit late.
I wanted to make sure you had this to take with you.
What am I supposed to do with some dirty old charm?
Watch your mouth. That talisman was given to me by your mother long ago.
What is that?
He doesn't ask Urahara, Yoruichi, or Tessai, all very strong, all people he knows, the first two very stealthy, to kill the Hollows near his house. He doesn't ask Ryukin to either protect his kids or send Uryu to protect his kids, and all of this is self-evident because Rukia was sitting here going off about Soul Reapers for how long before the Hollow came in, knocked out Yuzu, and kidnapped Karin. Any one of these 5 people would have been skilled enough to take care of this without Rukia noticing. Ishin just doesn't seem to give a shit about what happens.
Thanks for hitting me so hard up there, Dad.
And without any evidence that Ichigo would become a Soul Reaper or Quincy, or a strong enough Soul Reaper or Quincy to fight Aizen, Ishin relies on Ichigo, a 15-year-old, to take care of everything. That's arguably as bad or worse than Ryukin is for Uryu. At the very least, Ryukin let his dad Soken give Uryu the skills to protect himself against Hollows.
Look, I did it!
Gotcha! No charge for the lesson. You must learn the final Getsuga Tensho.
And the whole of Bleach frames Ryukin as a terrible asshole dad. Ishin is supposed to be a good one. But Ishin just leaves the fate of his kids up to chance. And whatever Ichigo says...
You probably had your reasons for not telling me about everything.
That's really shitty.
You're gonna cry?
My personal answer to this problem is to suggest that at the beginning of the story, Ishin is a nice suicidal drunk, completely unaware of the world around him. When he hears his kids are starting to see ghosts, he should get vitamins from Urahara to give to them to suppress their spiritual power, which of course they don't take. After this, Ishin starts to see how spirit problems are affecting Ichigo and Karin, and he has to start training with Urahara to get his powers back, and by the Quincy arc is around to work together with Ichigo against the final villain. Thus, Ishin grows back into being a hero/Soul Reaper instead of it just happening. You could actually give Ishin what some may call a character arc?
Sounds like you've matured.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room now. Ichigo's Quincy problem. The revelation that Ichigo has been a Quincy the whole time, I guess. Kind of. Look, it's a meme that he gets all the powers. It's really dumb.
That doesn't make sense!
Ichigo has to come from somewhere. And Quincy, Masaki, and a Soul Reaper Ishin is not a bad idea. Him getting Quincy powers later is pretty... But, since we're down to one sister now, I think that could be easily solved. Give Karin those Quincy powers. This would make her way more important in the final arc, and bring some narratively satisfying stuff. Ichigo gets to fight alongside his whole surviving family, both of whom would get to be important! Isn't that crazy to think? That other characters in Bleach can be important?
I said we are gonna protect Karakura Town!
That Ishin wouldn't just show up during the Quincy arc to explain Masaki to Ichigo and be in the background when Uryu's dad gives Uryu the plot device to kill Yehovak? We can discuss this more in depth later. For now, in a likely unsurprising move, we mark Ichigo's parents as key.
Try to shake off that gloom and depression, son. You're way too young to carry around such a heavy burden. I'll be waiting at the bottom of the hill.
Brother?
Orihime's parents are pieces of shit that only exist off-screen, so we don't really need to say their role needs reduced or anything. Her brother, Sora Inoue, was apparently a nice guy who died in a car accident out of nowhere after having an argument with Orihime. Sora shows up to establish that nice guys can become hollows, and that's cool. I can't think of any better introduction episodes for Orihime's character, so he also serves his part for that. You should probably have him be alive at the beginning of the series, and then die in episode 2 or 3 so we can see the direct emotional fallout for Orihime instead of just having flashbacks about it. This also solves the problem of Ichigo apparently being close to Tatsuki, seeing her soon-to-be best friend's brother/guardian die, and think extremely little of it.
Although...
Yes?
Around 3 years back or so, her older brother Sora was in this terrible accident and died at our clinic.
Having Ichigo be there emotionally for Orihime after her brother dies would, it'll provide more of a bond between Ichigo and Orihime before the Arrancar arc.
Rukia! 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 Rukia!
Ganju and Hanataro and Rukia!
Rukia. We'll see you around, Rukia.
In that Ichigo could actually think about Orihime before the Arrancar arc.
Orihime!
Ichigo!
Did you just get hit by that car? Orihime!
If you're gonna have romance, you have to signal it appropriately. Sora helps as a catalyst for this. Let's mark Sora as key.
My brother. Have a good day.
Thanks, Orihime.
Ryukin.
Is that any way to address your father? You haven't changed at all, have you, son?
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Quincy family. There's Soka and Ishida, Uryu's kind grandfather.
There will come a time when you will know the answer to that. And by then you will also know what it is that you truly want to protect.
Ryukin Ishida, Uryu's strict and distant father.
You must swear to me. You'll never associate with a Soul Reaper again.
And Kanai Katagiri, Uryu's dead mom that you never learn about if you just watch the anime. I'm not counting Grandma Ishida, who doesn't have a name because, well, she doesn't have a name and she only shows up at a few manga panels to nag, which is kinda crappy. Like everyone, Uryu needs parents, and all his family members serve a purpose. His grandfather shows the horrors of genocide that Soul Society committed against Quincy's.
We must do all we can, Uryu, to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again.
The few survivors were under Soul Reaper surveillance. The trick was to bribe them so they would be too late coming to the rescue. Then I could collect the souls.
His father demonstrates the strict nature of traditional Quincy code while explaining Uryu's emotional stuntedness.
You're a fool, son. I chose my words wisely. What I said was that I had no interest, and that you had no talent for it.
And his mother shows how Yehovak is a jerk later, and her absence also helps parallel Ichigo's problems and explain why Uryu may want someone warm and nice like Orihime around. However, given that Ryukin is alive during the Quincy arc, and of course the killers of his wife and father are still around, he should have a much larger role than showing up in the last 5 chapters to toss the Deus Ex Machina arrow to Uryu!
That's my business.
He should probably try to kill Yehovak before that, and at least have some kind of interaction with Mayuri, considering that Mayuri murdered his dad!
You mean you don't trust me?
But I'll get to that later. Also, you should give Grandma at least a little more screen time and explanation.
I'm just fucking with you, Grandma.
Overall, all 3 members of the Ishida family can be marked down as Keith.
What a horrible father. I'm a great improvement over you.
Wow, that's everyone's families. Alright, we didn't really need to cut anyone. Humans sure do need parents.
Let's hear for Daddy!
Well, seeing as how I went off for 9 minutes about Ishin being a terrible father because re-examining Bleach made me realize how poorly written he is, I'm gonna have to cut this video short and move the Ur Horror Shop analysis to the next episode. Sorry it took me well over a year to get this one out, guys. I lost my job 3 times and had to move, so I hope you understand. If you could check out WrightlySo.com and contribute to our Patreon, even if it's just $1, it would greatly help us be able to put out content more frequently. Regardless of if you donate or not though, thanks for watching. See you next time.